been looking at how much more money people have to spend because they're buying the normal bundle of goods that they need to survive, and how much money people have gained in the last year because incomes have gone up because of all of our great policies which are causing a business boom. And so the bottom line is that Trump policies are meant to onshore production and create jobs, and those jobs that we're creating are not for, Jeff Bezos. They're for the people who didn't have a job before. And so they're by definition the people at the bottom. And our policies are working. They're very clearly working in the data.
Top White House officials continue to trumpet Donald Trump's tariffs, which are pushing up prices south of the border and creating massive economic instability on this side. It's against that backdrop that 370 Canadian delegates have descended on Mexico this week in Canada's biggest trade mission there in decades. Rachel Bendayan is the Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister and a part of that delegation in Mexico. She joins us live from, I believe, our embassy over there. Hi, Ms. Bendayan. Good to see you. Thank you very much for making the time.
Buenas tardes. I am live from Mexico City. It's great to be here, Vashi.
I wish I still remembered enough Spanish to conduct this entire interview in that language. Unfortunately, everyone will have to settle for my English. Before we get into the mission, and I have a lot of questions for how it's going in trade between our two countries, I did want to get your reaction as Parliamentary Secretary to the Prime Minister to the floor crossing, Matt Genereux coming over to your caucus. Mr. Poilievre says your party is trying to form a majority through quote-unquote backroom deals. Are you?
And I'm very pleased to receive a new member of our caucus. I think this is a time for the entire country to come together as members of the province of Alberta and Canadians. I think that we are going to obviously have a lot of interest in our party at the moment. I've been hearing it from Conservative members for some time now. I'm pleased to see Matt Genereux join our caucus.
Do you expect, based on those conversations, that there will be more?
I think that's up to other caucus members and members of Parliament. We'll see. I am certainly focused on the work that we are doing in order to strengthen and diversify our economy. It's why I'm here in Mexico, and it is the focus of, I know, the Prime Minister and all of Cabinet.
And I promise I have lots of questions about that. I think the question about the majority, though, is central to that, right? Being able to advance the agenda that your government wants to pursue. Again, I'll just put to you, Mr. Poilievre's framing is that what you're trying to do is secure that majority, not through the democratic process, but instead through what he's terming backroom deals. Is that what your government is trying to do?
No, I think there are a number of by-elections that are coming up. We'll see what the results of those are. We do have the budget, which has a very strong plan in order to strengthen our economy, in order to double housing construction across the country. That budget is currently stuck as a result of Conservative tactics at Finance Committee. And so I hope that what we can do is eventually get to a majority in order to be able to pass the budget and the laws that I know Canadians have asked us for. But at the moment, we don't have one, and therefore we're looking to work with partners in opposition in order to advance our legislation.
I think that budget implementation bill is being negotiated because Minister McKinnon told us that it'll go back to the House when it resumes next week. Let's talk about the trip. Despite the presence of CUSMA, Canada only exported $8.6 billion of goods to Mexico in 2024. After your visit there over the last number of days, do you know why?
I think that there's a lot of opportunity here in Mexico still to be exploited. We've seen over the course of the last number of months since the Prime Minister was here and since he signed a strategic partnership with President Sheinbaum in September, a lot of interest in Canada. Over the course of the last number of days, we've announced upwards of, I think, 15 different deals between Canadian companies and Mexican companies. We've also seen significant foreign direct investment from Mexico into Canada. One deal in particular that I'm really excited about is a Mexican mining company that's going to invest somewhere in the range of $750 million in a mining operation in northern Quebec. We've also seen small deals. I was on the floor of the convention meeting with small business leaders and medium-sized businesses that were meeting both Canadian and Mexican partners very interested in working together. There was a Montreal company by the name of Accede that had just met with GE Vernova, which is GE's company here in Mexico. And he said, like 10 minutes ago, they just said, like, we're ready to sign. And I think that's what this trade mission is all about. You mentioned, the size of the trade mission is incredible, but also I feel the results are incredible.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering if you can quantify those results. And I understand the anecdotal evidence in the instances of specific, deals, for example, that you're pointing to. But when I highlight the number around exports, it's because, we say, oh, Mexico's our third largest trading partner. It's under CUSMA. But if you compare it to China in that same year, there were $30 billion of Canadian goods exported to China, $600 billion of goods exported to the United States. Is there something structurally inhibiting Canadian businesses from being able to better take advantage of the opportunities that you just laid out? And is your government going to do something about it rather than just kind of like bring a lot of people there and say that you're going to do more?
Well, we're not just saying it, we're actually doing it. This money is going to flow in, the foreign direct investment that I mentioned. The contracts that our Canadian companies are signing with Mexican companies are joint ventures that are going to result in more exports from Canada to Mexico. Is there something structurally? I think structurally the matter is really that we've had the United States in between us geographically, and both countries have traditionally exported a very large amount to that partner. And now we are seeing that perhaps there's even more to do bilaterally between Canada and Mexico.
And on that note, I would say that I've watched with great interest, I think Canadians have in general, Mexico's approach to the United States versus Canada's. And I wonder if there is any conversation, or you've been a part of any conversation, I think you were in the meeting with President Sheinbaum, for example, around like how you navigate expanding trade with Mexico while also trying to keep CUSMA on the wheels and not to say that it's our fault that the U.S. is doing what it's doing. It's quite the opposite, but like not further antagonize someone who is just looking to be antagonized, basically.
Both Canada and Mexico are very committed to CUSMA. I think that the trilateral relationship in North America is extremely important. Our industries are deeply integrated, but our economies are also complementary one to the other. And so I know that Mexico is very keen on continuing with TMEC, as they call it here, as is Canada. We are all committed to ensuring a strong deal between the three countries in order to continue the free flow of people, goods, and services between our three countries here in North America. And as the geopolitical context shifts around the world, I think a very strong North America becomes even more important to all three countries.
Is your government fully committed to a trilateral approach in that vein? I ask because Jameson Greer, the USTR, has in the last few days even been explicit that the United States intends to pursue that review on a bilateral basis. Is it the federal government's position to not accept that framing?
There have always been bilateral discussions between our countries, whether under then NAFTA or now CUSMA. We are absolutely committed to a trilateral arrangement between the three countries. I also think that there is a lot to do between Canada and Mexico in terms of trade. As you mentioned off the top, there are opportunities that have yet to be exploited. We can export more to Mexico for sure, which is why we are engaged very heavily in this trade mission. I mean, you saw the number of ministers that came on the delegation along with me and other parliamentarians in order to advance the relationship. You mentioned the meeting that we had with President Sheinbaum yesterday. It was an extremely constructive meeting. We addressed a number of issues, including the CUSMA review. We talked about how we can further foreign direct investment both ways. And I think that these conversations are very healthy. I know that Minister LeBlanc is in regular contact with Mr. Greer at the USTR, and that those are also positive conversations that he has indicated will continue.
Oh, I wasn't aware, actually, that those conversations were continuing in any regular fashion. There hasn't been much communication around that. And I do take your point that there are always going to be bilateral discussions. But the reason I ask specifically with this is because the U.S. has been so concrete about saying that basically they want to take a divide and conquer approach, at least where renegotiations or a review is concerned. It wasn't that long ago that then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau seemed to kind of waffle on whether or not that would be the case, and that Premier Ford was saying, let's just go it alone with the United States and not worry about Mexico. Am I to infer from your comments that no matter what, Canada is sticking with a trilateral review?
Well, it's hard for me to speak in the hypothetical when you say no matter what. At the moment, Canada's position is that a trilateral review is not only in Canada's interest, but also in the United States and Mexico's interest.
And then finally, when you talk about sort of what materializes out of this trip, I read some of the comments that Minister LeBlanc made heading into it, basically saying he expected something more concrete beyond what you've outlined here, but like more formalized agreements, let's say, on a bilateral basis 6 months from now. Is that still the case? And can you give Canadians watching, an idea of exactly what they should look for?
Well, we're building off of an agreement that was signed just a couple of months ago in September. Our trade mission here has been very successful, and we were welcomed really with open arms by President Sheinbaum, as you saw from some of the pictures of our meeting yesterday, which was significant. I also understand that Mexico is intending now to send a trade mission to Canada. They are very interested in also meeting with our pension funds and seeing how they could invest in Canada, and that's something that we are going to undertake in the next couple of months, so you'll certainly see that. I think that there is a lot more that we can do, and I certainly am very focused on this relationship in particular at the request of the Prime Minister.
Okay, I'll leave it on that note. Ms. Bendayan, thanks a lot for making the time. I appreciate it, and safe travels.
Gracias. Thank you, Vashi.